Have you guys recovered from our reaction video yesterday with the Alec Baldwin dismissal? Listen, the special prosecutor by the name of Erlinda Johnson did an interview with Chris Cuomo yesterday, and we got to react to it. This continues to be like the 4th of July. These fireworks are ongoing and ongoing, and I am here for it. I'm here for it. Let's watch some of this and react to this because I learned something new.
So, want to hear how crazy this got? One of the lead prosecutors, not the one who took the stand, Morrissey, the one who gave the opening statement, quit today. Why? Guess what? This almost never happens. This prosecutor wants to be heard enough that she's coming on TV right after this happened. Erlinda Ocampo Johnson joins us now.
She's trying to set the record straight. That's what she's going to do. Oh my God.
Thank you so much for taking the opportunity.
Hi, Chris.
First, let me give you a chance to respond what was said about you. Another member of the team said you left the team because you didn't like that this Brady hearing was public.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. I left because I learned about this evidence when the public learned about it yesterday, late afternoon. I don't know if you're aware, I actually came on this case kind of late in the game. I came on the case towards the end of April. So I had to get up to speed. I was not involved in the Hannah Gutierrez case at all. And so I was not aware that this individual had taken this ammunition to the sheriff's department and provided it to the officers. I learned all of that yesterday when Mr. Spiro was cross-examining the crime scene technician. So I inquired some more. And this morning when the motion hearing began, my position was during the lunch hour, before the lunch hour, during the lunch hour, we have an obligation as prosecutors. We have an obligation not only to the people, but to the defendant. And our obligation is to make sure that all the evidence is turned over. We don't get to decide what the defense is going to be. Our job is to ensure transparency and to ensure that the defendant has everything that the prosecution has gathered.
Oh my God. And she resigned that day, yesterday, when all this was going down. You go, girl. You go, girl, because I don't know how many people would have done that. I'm going to be honest with you. Shout out to her.
What they do with it, that's up to them. Go ahead.
Two things. One, the better minds that I bring on the show, because what do I know, were very impressed by your opening. They felt that you had good command and that you made a very strong case. Did you believe that Alec Baldwin should be found guilty?
I did. I believed the evidence that we had. I had no idea that there was this other evidence that had not been turned over. That there were some actions that were done during the filming, and there was some recklessness. I did based on the evidence that was available. But my job is not to get a conviction. It's to put the evidence before a jury. That's how I saw my job. Is to put all this evidence before the jury and let the jury decide.
That's what this is about, right? Like, let the jury decide. Don't hide shit. Don't omit shit. Like, I don't know about you guys, but when I was watching that Kari Morrissey or Mossery, I think that's how you say her name. Like, she looked like she needed an attorney while she was being cross-examined. That's what it looked like to me. The girl did not do very well, and she just kept digging a hole and a hole and a hole and trying to make an excuse as to why she was justified. And I'm not a lawyer. I'm watching this, and some of you guys were there too, and I was just having a reaction. I couldn't believe it.
But once things start, go ahead. Sorry.
No, I want to hear you. But once things what?
So once I learned that this evidence was not turned over, that it was there, it was under a different case number, and my obligations, my ethical obligations as a prosecutor. Now, keep in mind, I've been a prosecutor. I was a state and federal prosecutor for over a decade. I've been a prosecutor. I've been a criminal defense lawyer for the last 16 years. So I've been on both sides, and I know what you're required to do. And when this came to light, I think that the best decision would have been for the state to dismiss the case. That's why I resigned.
Really?
Because I believed that case should have been dismissed. And I advocated for that over the lunch hour, and it wasn't. And so when we came back after the lunch hour, I asked to withdraw.
So I wonder if the the defense was, he got on that. This is why he asked about that. I'm assuming that was the issue, right?
So you wanted the prosecution team to walk away from the case. They said no. So you said, then I'm walking away. And then the judge basically agreed with you. So I have two questions. First one is, so you believe it should be dismissed? Explain to people who don't understand anything about the law, why did you believe this ammunition was so important for the defense?
So obviously, you're a lawyer, I think. Brady versus Maryland imposes requirements on the prosecution to turn over evidence. The rules of criminal procedure impose those requirements, those duties as well. So is the evidence material? That's number one. How timely is the disclosure? Without question, this was grossly untimely. Number two, is it material? So the question is, could the defense have made some use of this evidence in their defense? And like I said, we as prosecutors do not get to make that decision, what the defense is going to be. It's, can the defense use this, and could it potentially raise some sort of reasonable doubt? And you have to step back. You're not an advocate. As a prosecutor, you're not an advocate. You are there to present the facts and to present the evidence. And your job is, and that's why I took this case on. I agreed to come on board, is because there was a woman who was killed. No question about it. This was tragic. And something happened. And a jury needed to make that decision.
I love that she explains this, because for some of us that are not lawyers, I mean, it's something for us to learn, for sure. At least I'll speak for myself, for me.
And so I believe in the system. And unfortunately, something went horribly wrong here, and I was not aware of it. And when I did become aware of it, my ethical obligations stated that I advocate for a dismissal. So
let's talk about what went wrong, okay? And you guys at home can Google Brady versus Maryland. It's a 1963 case that basically just goes to things that either could be exculpatory, meaning it's evidence that the defense could use to show it wasn't them, or what they call impeachment, which is evidence that the defense could use to show that one of the witnesses for the prosecution is full of it, okay? Basically, that's what Brady was. They call it Brady material. Your co-counsel says you have it wrong, that this ammunition, she knew about it, obviously, and she says, nah, it didn't have any real value. It had no resemblance to the ammunition that is involved in Alec Baldwin's case. Why would I turn it over?
Well, at the end of the day, a jury could have believed that, but our obligations are to turn all evidence over that could potentially be used by the defense in their defense. It's not for us to decide what is the defense going to be. It's not for us to say, well, his defense was he didn't pull the trigger. So his defense is not.
I got you. But here's the tough question. The suggestion, not from you, from me, is that this may have been in bad faith. Your co-counsel knew about this. She was willing to get on the stand, take the oath, and say, I didn't see any value here. Defense counsel and you echo the same standard. You don't get to decide whether or not it has value. She says, yes, I do. Otherwise, how do I know what to turn over? And I thought this didn't meet the standard. What is the standard, and why do you believe co-counsel got it wrong?
Well, this is a lot to process. Obviously, I learned about this yesterday evening. But just in looking at, so the first time I look at this evidence was this morning, because it was brought over to court. I think, as you saw, the judge had them open the envelope. And so there were 3 rounds that looked very similar to the live rounds that were found on the set of Rust. Thinking as a defense attorney, I'm thinking the defense could have argued Hannah Gutierrez-Reed was a great armorer. She was completely competent, and there was sabotage. So you have that potential sabotage angle. So then at that point, potentially those 3 rounds to become potentially exculpatory. But the point is, it should have been turned over. It wasn't turned over. And
you think it met the standard? Any way you look at it, it should have been turned over. It was enough for you to step away. I want to ask you about the case now that it's dismissed, because I didn't understand why you guys brought it. I thought it was totally political. I thought if this guy's name wasn't Alec Baldwin, if it was Alec McIntosh, he wouldn't be there.
I would have to agree. I thought it was political too. It wasn't until I saw the cross-examination of that attorney, the prosecutor, I honestly thought this was all political.
Pissed off the prosecutors early on by what he was saying, and they wanted to get him. Why am I wrong?
Well, first of all, I was not involved in the charging decisions. I will tell you that based on my evaluation of the evidence that I was privy to and that I saw when I came on board on this case, was that there were numerous clips from the filming on the set that showed that Mr. Baldwin, unfortunately, did engage in some horseplay with this gun. For example, one individual who was interviewed by the OSHA investigators and testified or gave an interview that there was a time that he allowed Mr. Baldwin to use him kind of as a target. To shoot blanks at him as at his person, and obviously these are real guns. You don't do that with real guns. So there's
on a movie set. But isn't that exactly what they do on a movie set?
Well, no, you don't use another person as a target, as a human target. So that could potentially be reckless. And so, he wasn't charged with intentional homicide. There's no question. For me, there's no question Mr. Baldwin did not intend to do this. But the question is, was there wanton and recklessness? And so
I still agree that there was negligence and recklessness. There was. Yeah. Wow.
That's why I did believe in the case. I had no idea that this other evidence had not been turned over.
That is very clear. And I've told the audience, this is not about you. That's a separate prosecutor who seemed to know about it. We've showed her on screen. Her name is Morrissey. It is not you. I just want to ask you, I have two more questions. The first one is, I still don't buy it. I don't understand how on a movie set, you should have a reasonable expectation that you might have live ammo in the weapon. Well, why? Why would you have that as a reasonable expectation?
Because remember, there are the SAG guidelines, there's bulletins, safety bulletins that dictate, even if you're an actor, even if you're on a movie set, you treat a real firearm as though it's always loaded, never point it at another person, and don't put your finger on the trigger until you're ready to shoot. Those are cardinal firearm handling safety rules. So yes, did I believe that there was some inappropriate behavior with regard to handling this gun? I do. It's unfortunate that things went the way they went, but the fact of the matter is that we as prosecutors have very, very serious and high ethical obligations that when something comes to our attention, evidence comes to us, or we become aware of evidence, you turn it over. You don't decide.
Are you a big Alec Baldwin fan? Are you a big Alec Baldwin fan?
I actually do. I am a fan. I wouldn't say a big fan. I never saw him as Alec Baldwin, the actor. To me, this is a case, someone died. This was a tragic case. Someone was killed. And she was killed with a live bullet. She was killed because someone also pointed a gun at her.
Oh my God. Why is this the question? Like, why are y'all asking these attorneys, are you a big Alec Baldwin fan? I don't know. I think that is just a tacky question to ask. I'm just saying. Ask the judge if she's an Alec Baldwin fan and see how that goes.
I never had, for me, it was not about Alec Baldwin, the actor. This is not about politics for me. It was about putting forth the facts before a jury.
Last thing for you, and again, really, thank you for coming on, Ms. Johnson. Really appreciate it. You ooze authenticity to me, and we are very hungry for it right now when it comes to trusting our institutions. So I appreciate what you did, but I'm also worried for you now. Are you worried that, the right move was for you to just kind of sit there and let the judge make the ruling, and then if they made the wrong ruling, you could have walked away, but now you walked away and you may be a target in the community or by other prosecutors for going bad on your team?
Well, no, I walked away before the judge made the ruling. I asked you.
I know, should you have waited?
No, absolutely not. I have ethical obligations. And personally,
I'm glad she didn't wait. I'm sorry. I'm glad she did not wait. Shout out to her.
Moral obligations. And my ethical obligation and my moral obligations really are not that different. And so when I see that something isn't right, and when I see that the law isn't followed, I don't care who you are, where you are, you make the right decision. And for me, the right decision was to walk up to the judge and ask to be allowed to withdraw before that circus of a hearing got underway.
Yes.
Do you think that she decided the way she did because of you?
No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. I think that—
I got to tell you. Go ahead, make your point.
No, I said I think it's because it met the legal standard.
I got to tell you, Erlinda Ocampo Johnson, this is a very refreshing conversation. It has nothing to do with the outcome of the case. I still don't get the case, but I respect your argument on it. And I really respect what you did and your rationale for doing it. This was a brave thing to do. Yeah. And I have tremendous respect for you. And if there's anything we can do down the road to help, if this gets a little ugly because people don't like what you did, we're a call away if we can help in any way. But thank you for rationalizing your behavior the way you did.
Shout out to her, you guys. I mean, amazing. And I'm wishing her the best. I mean, that's bravery right there. I don't know who would have done the same. Shout out to her. You know, because it just felt like yesterday felt so infuriating, right? Seeing what was going on. It felt like we were in a different dimension. And I know some people in the comments were talking about, oh my God, this is what unethical looks like. This is, you know, bad attorneys, you know, acting badly. And so when you see somebody stepping out and actually doing something right by a situation that's already hectic, I think it's great to call it. I like, wow, shout out to her. Y'all let me know your thoughts in the comments. I'll see you guys on the next one. Rabbits out. Bye, guys.